Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, Your Impact Attack. It belongs to you. Would you please take it and get the hell out of here? I'm tired of seeing it. But you know me, I'm your host, The Vet, and with me, as always, I'm not alone, never alone. Um, I got my super co-host with the stairwell mood lighting. It's Brandon. Brandon, hello. Hello to the people.
Yo, 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 just like Chris Saban, you are never alone at the impact attack. Even though it's just the VB, you missed the C. Get well soon and good luck with your surgery tomorrow, brother.
Did he send you that picture of him? It looked like Dak Shepard just lost a fight.
Oh no.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Oh.
it was Colin. I didn't realize how much he looked like Dak Shepard until he sent me that pic. Um, but yeah, so Colin's been dealing with some tooth issues, and so tonight we got Brandon on the ones and twos here. But we'll be business as usual. We'll be bullshitting for a few minutes to try to talk about other stuff and avoid talking about this episode of Impact, which, while it may have been a little more palatable than last week, it still was left a lot to be desired, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but we'll find out as we go along. I guess nothing really happened this weekend. There was no major shows or anything like that. No retirements. Just, at least no retirements on Twitter. Uh, Maybe a last match or two. Did you happen to catch? Let's start. I guess we'll start with SummerSlam, since that was chronologically first. Did you happen to catch any of the show? This was the first Vince McMahon-less pay-per-view, I guess. Premium
Just
live event. Sorry.
didn't watch the whole show. I saw just a few clips of some of the things that happened, like Bailey returns along with her new group. The thing with Brock and the tractor, which I made a video edit of with Donnie from Trailer Park Boys yelling over it.
Okay. So you just saw clips here and there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a lot of people are raving over it. You probably saw that. You probably saw a lot of people getting super excited about, this is the Triple H era.
Like let's pump the brakes here, guys.
Yeah,
Let's give it a few months and see where we're at. 3 months from now.
I kind of agree. It is going to take some time before some significant changes happen. We all know that. However, if you have been watching, because I know that you sporadically check in with WWE, you can't be bothered to watch it, and no one can blame you. That's not necessarily the case for me. I'm aware of everything they do at all times. So even if I don't sit there and intently watch the episode with a stern look on my face and concentrate and take notes, I know what happens on the TV programs. I've got to be ready to jump on one of these Hami Media Group shows at a moment's notice right here on Channel Attitude. Okay, please subscribe. But so that's why the HMG Channel Attitude channel is filled up with vet all the time, and you're probably sick of me at some point. But that's because I always, like Matt Cardona, always ready. So I have to watch this stuff, and I can tell you that you can see some of the differences already, just in the general attitude of people there. One of the easiest fixes is, if McMahon's not prowling the building or on the headsets, no one's worried about saying any of that stupid shit that he always has them say, like, a championship title opportunity, or, a medical facility, or any of our favorite things. I'm sure you have a few that you like.
Right. Like I've noticed there's a lot more relaxed tone from the performers. Like they're not as tense. They're not like as on their toes and walking on eggshells.
Yeah. So I think that right off the bat, you can just kind of see a general, there's a slightly looser feeling, but there is still some stupid shit in there. Like I thought first of all, I thought one of the easiest things that would have been like a big change, like in terms of turning a 180 on the creative, would have been, Max Dupree, because we hear these reports of him being upset and walking out, and Maxine Dupree comes in. So this one week on SmackDown 2 weeks ago, the chick from NXT, I just kept calling her the hot chick because they didn't say her name for a long time, and she stood around telling these certain guys what to do, and come to find out her name's Sophia Cromwell. That's her working name. I don't think that's her real name. So she gets the call up to be Maxine Dupree, and then take over the Maximum Male Models, or so we told, until the following Friday when he just steps into the shot or whatever, and he's still part of the group. And then at SummerSlam, I don't know if you saw this, but it was like they had the models doing an ad for Pure Life water, where they're like pouring it all over themselves and saying suggestive things and all this other stuff. And then, yep, sure enough, right at the end with the bottle in hand, Max Dupree, LA Knight, Eli Drake, whatever you want to call him, still a part of this shit. I don't know if Nestle's going to be pleased with this ad that they put on, but nonetheless, so like I thought that would be like an easy change, like get this man out of this gimmick right away. And
Here's what I think that might be, though. That because, like, you know what Ben's been talking about with them, the new regime potentially flushing bad news out to see who's stooged into the dirt sheets. I mean, it's the second time something like that's what's happened with Brock Lesnar as well, and I know that could also be what or Dupree meant when he put out that tweet where he said any good news lately. He could have been in on that.
Well, regardless of what they want to do with the dirt sheets, get him the hell out of that gimmick.
Yeah,
how about that? He could be doing so much more, and maybe he will. Maybe they will just, since they've already started, maybe they'll just wring it dry, pun intended, and then
get him back in the ring.
Yeah, get him back in the ring.
I think he'll make a great manager someday, but I think he's got a lot left to give in the ring, a lot left in the tank.
Right, he could do anything you needed him to. You know, like you know how I was talking about the Briscoes, like how I would have them do everything. You know, he actually is somebody that they might want to have do everything. He can manage, wrestle, get on commentary, sell stuff on the little WWE shop segments on TV.
A five-tool utility player.
That's right. Instead, he's just a tool, and it's not the best use of him. So I don't know. Buckshot Kid says that bottle of water looked cheap. Well, that's the it does, doesn't it? That's a rebranding of Nestle Pure Life water, which it looks like it's for children. Like it looks like exactly like you said, cheap and for children. But the funny thing is, yeah, it looks like the one I just drank out of. But if you go buy like a pack of Nestle Pure Life water, some of them have like Big E and Charlotte on the package. Like there's like a branding thing with with WWE and Nestle right now on that. So Buckshot Kid also says, "Did you see Liv's gear? She had a zipper from the front of her crotch to the back of her ass." Well, yes, I did. I did see that. That was nice. And I did see Becky Lynch, who I love. So it looks like she opened the show with Bianca Belair. They had a nice little match, nothing amazing. It wasn't like super great, but they didn't. It was a little more less mistakes than their WrestleMania match. So that was good. But I'm a big Becky fan, and so at the end, Becky just kind of goes to shake Bianca's hand. Like it's almost like a mild Becky face turn. And then after the match, Bianca's in the ring, and then and we get Bayley's music, and Bianca has the whole this thing again. This is like SummerSlam last year. I'm getting surprised by people coming back, and Bayley comes out, and then she brings out Dakota Kai, and everybody's like, huh? And then even Corey Graves is saying things like, I'm not even aware that she's under contract here, because she was released recently. And Javi says, who cares about Dakota Kai, seriously? And that's not a bad question. But she's here. Maybe they'll make you care now. Maybe this is the chance. Yeah, I could tell that would be one where, like, there's probably certain people that got released where Triple H was, like, in the hospital bed and he's like, don't sign anything. some of his personal favorites. And then Io Shirai comes out, but then they call her Io Sky, so I guess she is getting a name change. So we're still doing that. We're still doing that shit. That means that was probably put into place, maybe some time ago. Because it doesn't seem like Triple H would call her up and change her name like that. So it's probably something they were about to do, and then they just went with it, I guess.
Or she might have liked it too. I don't know. Possibly.
It's not one of the worst ones they've ever done.
Yeah, at least it's not a bad one.
Yeah. So, so they come out and everything. So I was thinking too, like, as I'm watching this, so they get in there and they square up against Bianca, and then Becky comes and stands alongside Bianca, right? And then they powder out. And you can hear Ben on the Monday Locker Room talk about how much he hated all that, which is fine. I don't disagree with that. I'm more interested in the fact of, it's like, are they just trying to get Becky back on track with this? Because they never really, turning her heel never really worked. The people have always liked her. The people have always wanted to be behind her. And the way she's been doing the heel gimmick has just been very, very confusing, because it's almost like she's trying to balance, not like trying to be entertaining, but not be a real heel or something like that, or to go against some of the stuff they've been giving her.
Right. It's like exactly like trying to okay, I want to be heel, but I also want to be like cool, but I also don't want to be the cool heel. It's like there really isn't a way to balance that. You got to be one or the other. You can't be half pregnant.
Right. And Russo and Ben, and not so much Stevie, but they've been, Russo and Ben have a vendetta, and they've been ripping her a new asshole every time she's ever been. When they're on the Raw review, they definitely tear into Becky Lynch, which I think is completely unfair, because you have to understand that she's better than what they have on TV. It's not like she's coming up with this shit on her own. She's trying to, she just did that a couple weeks ago, did that Little Engine That Could promo. Okay, who writes nursery rhyme and children's story promos? Vince McMahon does, right? Like, Roman Reigns, Jack and the Beanstalk, Suffer and Succotash. Like, that's the kind of Little Engine That Could. You think Becky came up with a Little Engine That Could? Now that I say that, watch her be the one that really came up with it. But still, you get my point.
And a fix of that could have been last night at SummerSlam. You establish a new faction, get heat on Becky, and plus you have her keep mentioning the fact she separated her shoulder, still wrestled the match. You got sympathy right there.
Yeah. Elizabeth says after Raw tonight, I think when she comes back from the injury, she's going to be totally baby.
Oh,
well,
definitely.
I saw that. Injury. I don't know what injury it could be, right? And I saw that from somebody. I guess it was Jimmy T on Twitter, and he said that she was supposedly injured, and I said, yeah, she broke both her arms trying to make all that chicken salad and lemonade by herself.
I saw that. That was funny.
I don't even know if this is a real injury or if it's just something to be like, all right, let's give you a few weeks and come back with a clean slate right now. Because everything else sucked. Okay. Triple H is going to look out for Becky. That. So, yeah, that was that. What else happened on SummerSlam? A bunch of nothing. Logan Paul did a thing. I mean, he had a match. It was pretty awkward, but what do you expect? It's Logan Paul and The Miz. Wasn't going to ever be great, but he did certain moves that got people excited, so that was good. Did you catch any of that?
Nah, I saw Edge looking like James Hetfield.
Oh, yes. Then there was that. Oh, fuck. Oh, man. That was so... somebody... again, I think it was Jimmy. He invited me to do a SummerSlam review show, and I was just like, what am I going to do? Sit there and say just shrug my shoulders and say I didn't like this match 10 times? Like, I don't really have anything, but this was probably the low light of the show for me, is the Edge return, because you have in the middle of somebody's match, which this happened twice at least on different matches on SummerSlam, but you had in the middle of a match, you hit somebody else's music while the match is going on. And I guess somebody just silently rolled out like a giant set of stairs that was on fire and just pushed it in the aisleway in the middle of this match, just for some guy to rise up out of it. and come out, and yeah, I just this shit is corny to me. Like, this is
Yeah.
really corny to me.
That's one of the things when you think about it, break down the logistics, like, this doesn't make any sense.
It does not make sense.
Look at the monkey. Look at the
It's
silly
Chewbacca.
monkey.
Okay. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad, and we all knew it was going to be Edge, but I don't know. This would be even worse. This is like, this would be on the bingo card under making your full debut or re-debut or run-in or whatever with music and entrance and everything during somebody's match. It's like during somebody's match. A lot of times it happens after somebody's match. To make a run-in. Like, that's what the original bingo thing was. No, let's make a whole other entrance in somebody's match. So Edge was just hanging around backstage, and were we supposed to think that he did all this by himself? Like, he erected this set of stairs that leads nowhere, which is that's if that's not a metaphor for something, I don't know what is. And then just to rise up out of it like on fire. He just did that all by himself, and the WWE didn't know. They didn't have this plan or any shit like that. That's, I don't know, man. I guess it doesn't matter. Liz says, my friend of the show texted me. I was like, someone's coming out. They brought out stairs. Yeah. He doesn't. They don't come downstairs. They don't go upstairs. It's just stairs because in those vignettes, those mysterious vignettes, they had a set of stairs.
Or
So
better
now he's
yet-
got to be in stairs.
Or better yet, when you're watching a match and it starts, they cut a shot to the stage, it is empty, and later on in the match, they cut back to the stage, you see Pyro that's there all of a sudden. Oh, someone's coming out.
Yeah, someone's coming out, I guess. I mean, geez. Anyway, do I care about this match that's in the ring right now? I guess I don't. Yeah, so that was stupid. Not a lot of stuff was memorable. On the feed I was watching, it seemed like they skipped something because it just went right to Ronda and Liv in the ring and no entrances and stuff. So, like, it was, but I wasn't watching it. Let's just say I wasn't watching it fair and square. So, I don't know what happened there. And then, of course, everybody was really excited for the main event, the last man standing match between Brock and Roman. A lot of crazy stuff happened, obviously, as Sonic the Hedgehog joins us. And we may
What up,
acknowledge
Sonic?
you guys in a moment. I haven't decided yet. Yeah, so, come on. Brock takes a tractor and flips the ring up. So, what Braun Strowman could do by himself, Brock took a giant tractor to do. They did a decent portion of the match like that. And it was, I will admit, it was funny watching Roman Reigns roll out of the ring because, anybody rolling down something and falling out is funny. If you've ever seen Black Sheep or, Hot Rod or something like that, you know how funny it can be to see somebody tumble down something.
Dude, that scene from Black Sheep is classic.
Right. What in the hell was that all about? Yeah, exactly.
Hold on, little roots.
So Roman Reigns was the Chris Farley in this situation as he goes rolling out of the ring. That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Or with that smooth mic catch.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I didn't really see that one. There's a few. So, I mean, this was ridiculous. But what do you expect? It's a last man standing. It's going on last. They're going to pull out all the stops. It makes sense. A lot of people were praising Triple H for this kind of thing and, whatever. And I'm not sure they wouldn't have done this anyway. This seemed like the exact kind of thing that would have been up McMahon's alley.
I mean, they're, like you said, we were doing it with Braun before.
Right. Yeah. We don't even need a tractor. He is the tractor. And so, they end up piling up a bunch of stuff on Brock, and he can't finally get up. Like they turn tables on him and pieces of tables and chairs and just anything they can find they throw on top of him, and he can't get up finally.
And that's people varying that finish too. It's like, well, the object of the match is to win, and you got to find creative ways to win.
Right, and we've seen that. But then again, I watched a TLC match once where they did the same thing to. Where Seth Rollins did the same thing to Dean Ambrose, and Dean Ambrose, as soon as Seth Rollins stopped putting things on top, he just pushed it all off and ran up after him, chased him up the ladder. So, I guess Brock could have done that. I guess he's just a little pussy. But in any case, Yeah, he's not tough like interim AEW champion John Moxley. He's just Brock Lesnar. So, but I did see people like saying they didn't like the finish. Even Liz was saying how she didn't like how they used the Usos and stuff. And my thing is, if you have a last man standing match, it doesn't make sense if they're not 3-on-1 from the very start. Like, why would you even wait? There's no rules, you know. So you have to, if you're going to put yourself in that situation, you have to figure out a way to take the Usos out of it. So what you can okay. Liz says what cracked me up was when Corey's like, get that stuff off me. He hasn't moved. He can't breathe. Yeah.
He's trying to do his best, JR.
Yeah.
That
good.
man has a family, damn it.
Yeah. You have to get rid of the Usos at the start and have them stay gone and just have Roman go over, or you have to have them come back somehow, you know. And you know, so if you get rid of them at the start, maybe they make a valiant comeback, you know, like maybe the Street Profits come and take them out at the beginning, but then you can assume they beat up the Street Profits and left them somewhere, and then they came back out at the end or something like that. But you have to have a reason why they're not just there beating the shit out of Brock Lesnar the entire time as a team. You know, like if there's no rules, it never makes sense if you don't do that. And you often see that.
Work
you
the
often
gimmick of the match.
Right. You often see that in wrestling where there will be no reason for a bunch of people not to interfere, and they just don't do it because, oh, well, that's just not what we're doing. You know, no, think of a reason. Get with it. So,
or you have the whole thing with the heel right before the match doing the thing going like, hey, this one's mine, stay back here, or that sort of thing, you know?
Right. So at the end of the day, the right guy went over, because I don't know how much left that either Brock wants to do or that how much mileage they can really get out of him at this point. I mean, we've seen everything from Brock, and he can't beat Roman now. It's a reversal of how their positions were years ago in this lengthy, you know, rivalry. Coming soon to A&E rivalries, WWE rivalries biography near you. But both these guys, I'm like, well, what's next? So now it's up to Hunter and the creative team to get people ready for Roman Reigns that's believable. Because that's what hasn't been happening. We could have had tons of matches over the past 5, 6, 7 years. We could have had tons of matches and tons of opponents for guys like Brock and Roman to make interesting programs that people would want to see. But instead, they've devalued everybody that's under contract with them. And then when they get put in title matches with Brock or Roman because there's nobody left, it's just not believable.
50-50 booking and bad creative has basically killed any star power these guys have had, and believability and credibility. Yeah.
So that's what we need the most right now from the new regime. We need to get the people back to where, get the individuals back to where they are believable contenders for things. And there's still matches that we haven't seen, so it could be very good. You know, like one of the obvious things I was thinking, like when Brock first came back, and when was it, like around 2013 or 2014 or somewhere in there?
2012, the night after WrestleMania.
2012? Okay, so even that 10 years ago, man. And I was just like, fuck, what if Brock Lesnar and Sheamus had a match? Can you imagine, like, the beating those two guys would lay on each other? We've never had that, not once in 10 years. You know what I mean? They got Sheamus over here fucking joking around looking like a dock worker waiting for a day wages in the fucking recession in the 20s.
And Sheamus is a guy who you put him up against Lesnar, he looks believable against him.
Right. I mean, exactly. So, you know, or like even you think back a little bit ago, maybe it was last year, but you look at a guy like Cesaro. looks like a believable opponent, they don't treat him like a believable person. They just kind of shoehorned him into a match with Roman at the end. And that was probably because Roman was like, hey, I want to work with Cesaro. I worked with everybody else. I might as well work with Cesaro. Let's do something with him. And they probably didn't want to, but because it was Roman, he probably advocated for him to have a different match and a good match. And he was just like, pulling his, throwing his weight around a little bit to get Cesaro that match. But you could have built guys like that instead. But if you don't, guys like Vince McMahon didn't see anything in somebody, if he didn't personally see anything in somebody or didn't see what he wanted to see, then they were never going to get that shot, no matter how much everybody else said, hey, they should get that shot. Things like that's going to change.
Yep. See, Christopher Daniels, when he was originally supposed to be the higher power, they said, this guy's too small, get rid of him.
Yep. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. But that's the number one thing they got to focus on. They got to get people interesting again, and they got to rebuild what's been torn down. And it could take some time. I hope they don't rush it. I hope they take their time with it, because if you rush it, then you get AEW, because AEW just hot shots every single thing, and nobody's believable because it's more like it's just your turn rather than you have earned and you have climbed and fought and clawed to get to this position. It's more like, nope, Tony Khan just made this match. We have rankings, but you can leapfrog the rankings because we need you in this match right now. So.
We need to prune the tree, not chop it down.
That being said, let's take a break before we talk about a certain last match and acknowledge the chat. Oh my goodness, this can't be right. When I click on the participants tab, it shows me Lab Rat, Lizbeth, and Sonic the Hedge Rat. That is complete bullshit. We know there's more than that. We've got Buckshot Kid just now commenting, like, kidding me? So we got Javi Uchiha. I'm not gonna say it like those other guys do. Oh, maybe it really is only. All right, fine. Well, you guys go tell a friend. All right, let's move into the Ric Flair's last match. Brandon, did you catch? Yeah, of 2022. Did you catch any of this?
I did not. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they at least try to make it some kind of an angle to build it. Unfortunately, they went the ridiculous route and didn't go the believable route. But I thought it was kind of cool to see, like Taker, Foley, Brett there. I mean, that was kind of cool to see. I was not a fan hearing that he was back to drinking, but then again, he never stopped drinking from what I understand.
Nope. Never did.
I mean, I'm honestly surprised he didn't die in the ring. And I hope that this really is the end. Like this, like, okay, it's over, done with, right off into the sunset.
I don't see how it couldn't be. And if you had watched this, you would have been like, you really would have thought he would have died in the ring. In fact, he may have died in the ring. I will tell you that. He may have actually died in the ring and then just got back up. Because he might as well have been a zombie out there. This is the worst way that you could have ever, like, if you're going out, this was probably one of the worst ways to go out. Because it's everything that every wrestler has nightmares about. You can't seriously think at the age of, what is he, 72? 73?
Something like that, yeah.
You can't seriously think that you have anything left compared to what you used to be. You don't even have anything compared to when you officially retired the first time. And to go out there and stink up the joint, that's what every wrestler doesn't want to do. Like, they don't want to do that. And you have to know, you have to be aware enough that is what's going to happen at this stage. There's no way around it. The fact that he's wearing a I know what you're looking at already. Go ahead and put it up. You want to read that one? Go ahead and say it.
Ric Flair looks like Joe Biden.
Thank you, Buckshot Kid. Yes. I was discussing this earlier on Twitch with such a 3 count for a figure 4. Yeah. Yeah, on both guys. Elizabeth says, I thought for sure it was going to be celebrity deathmatch for reals. Yeah. Well, the other 3 celebrities were very healthy. So I don't know. It really could have only gone one way. But starting with everything from the angle as you spoke of, where it started because he said that, Jay Lethal was what was the word he used? He used opening match. You're an opening match guy or something like that,
or curtain jerker or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't say curtain jerker specifically, but that's what he was implying. He just said you're an opening match guy. It's like right off the bat, that's not believable. Ric Flair's if Ric Flair's friend is helping him do something, he would not say that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
He's trying, right from the premise, it's just not believable. And then all the phony stuff they did with Jarrett and all this, I get what they were trying to do, but nobody believes wrestling anymore. So everybody's just like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense. You could have just had, it's not enough that it's a guy's last match. That's all the story you need. I mean, I could lay this out another way, but I'm not going to do it. I just don't care. But you could have laid it out another way. Then you actually make it to the day. And, Ric Flair comes out, right? Let's just skip to, maybe I'll work backwards through maybe I should start at the top of the card. Because I didn't actually watch any of the matches, but I skimmed through them. They put together a really nice card for an indie wrestling event, Conrad did. So you got to give credit to Conrad. He got people from every single promotion, every single one, including WWE, because Jeff Jarrett's in the main event. So, he had a good set of matches to make people feel like they were going to get their money and their time's worth, because they knew he must have had at least an inkling that the main event was going to shit the bed, right? Or shit its pants, whichever. And so he put together a nice show. It included the Briscoes against the who'd they wrestle? They wrestled the Von Erichs, which was a nice, never before seen match. It didn't take long. Briscoes went over as they should. Cross had a match with Davey Boy Smith. It looked like it was probably rough to watch. Cross went over. Jonathan Gresham won a 4-way match, so it was like, here you go, Jonathan Gresham. Here's a little something. Don't cry, buddy. And then, some other stuff I'm forgetting. I think Ricky Morton teamed up with his son against some people.
Yeah, I saw that one. I forgot who it was against.
Yeah, I don't know.
Drawing a blank.
Right. So there was a 4-way with Bandito, Black Taurus, Laredo Kid, and Ray Phoenix. That, if you like that kind of thing, where a bunch of guys are jumping around, really good. You got some of the best there doing that. So they had a good variety of different types of matches and different crews from different areas. Oh, Jacob Fatu versus Josh Alexander was probably your real main event, because I think that went on right before. So you had a nice card, and then it's finally time, and everybody else comes out. Jarrett, Lethal, Andrade, they all come out, and then we're all waiting. They anticipate, and here comes Ric Flair. He's got his robe. They're like, oh, it's the white robe. They're really overselling that he's got his white and pink robe there. And then he turns around, and you can see he's wearing a shirt underneath, right? He's got a purple shirt on, and it's back to WCW 2000s, where he was too ashamed to take his shirt off. Which, that right there, if you are aware enough of yourself that you think that you're too embarrassed to take your shirt off in front of people, you probably should know how bad of a wrestler you're going to be.
If you know you look bad, you should know you're going to look even worse in the ring.
Right. The best that we can ever hope from Ric Flair is how he looks. So if it's already that bad that he wore two shirts. He actually wore two shirts. They didn't have the sleeves on. That's how you can see the second shirt. He wore two purple shirts. So it's like, bro, why didn't you just want to wear a singlet then? I mean, you clearly got a singlet top underneath your fucking t-shirt. And his purple t-shirt with no sleeves had a bedazzled Nature Boy on the back. So it's even more embarrassing. It wasn't like you just threw on a shirt because you were embarrassed. It was like you planned and custom made a shirt to cover up your shitty, fat, old, wrinkled body. That is not, it already, so right off the gate, I'm sure people were already like the people that were there were just like, yeah. But if that's all it was, that would have been fine. It wasn't. It's not all it was. He looked lost. He looked like he couldn't even find his way to the ring. That's what it fucking looked like. It was like, I was surprised that he didn't turn around and wander back, and just go through the curtain like he thought he already won the match. I think, yeah, it was when Buckshot Kid says he looks like Joe Biden, he's talking about the worst of times, right?
Like the wandering around shaking hands with air.
Mm-hmm. That and yeah. So this was right out of the gate. You knew. So then in my mind, I'm like, there's only two ways that you can really work this. You can keep Ric Flair out of the ring as much as possible and have him stand on the apron for most of the time, and then maybe make a quick comeback or something. And then I'm not even going to say to have him be involved in the finish. I would just tag him, back out. Or you just get the heat on Rick right at the start and then let Andrade come in as a house of fire and finish this thing up with some action, to let people remember.
Yep, it would not have been hard to get a heat on Flair without him taking crazy bumps.
Exactly.
Especially with Jarrett in there.
Right. I mean, they had the right guys. They had Jarrett and Lethal. Both those guys know how to work. Jeff Jarrett. First of all, Jeff Jarrett looks like no time has passed other than his face where you can see the wrinkles. But when he takes his shirt off, he looks just like fucking TNA Planet Jarrett. His body is in the exact same shape. So he could fucking go right now in WWE if they ever need anybody, right?
Especially compared to what it was 5 years ago.
Right.
We also have a picture of him in Mexico.
Okay, so Jarrett's back on. He took some good advice these past few years, and he's back where he's in ring shape, and he does a ton of walk and talk at the beginning because you have to. Of course you do, right? You have to. You have to get 5 minutes before you do anything, like a true Tennessee wrestler would.
Memphis, Daddy, or Nashville.
Yeah, or Nashville. Whichever. Tennessee. It's Tennessee in any case. It's so that is what, that's what that's what I was trained in. I was trained in Tennessee wrestling. Like we know, like Ben has talked about, that's how we were trained.
I love working Memphis style. That's fun.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything, bro, because the people are just so hot. They're yelling at you, and the less you do, the more mad they get at you. That's the thing. Like, even though they know this is how it goes, this is how it plays out, they still are like, they're playing along with it. They know what to do. They know what's up.
Dude, I the times I'd wrestle in Memphis and Tennessee, I would come out getting heat to my long hair and get 3 and 6 letter F-bombs thrown at me.
Yes. So now, which now is happening on Twitter a lot. So if you, so like I said, if you're going to do this, that's how you have to do it. They did neither of those things. They just went with a regular match of Ric Flair. Okay. And he, right off the bat, he just looks terrible. I don't want to go through like a blow by blow of this match, but he never, the look on his face never changed. It was always the look of, and it was literally the look of, because with the shirt and he wore his regular trunks and boots. So with the shirt on, it just looks like if, Grandpa woke up in the middle of the night and wandered out with no pants and like, it's like, go back to bed, Grandpa. Like that's what Ric Flair looks like. Yeah, and that face you just made is basically like what Ric Flair looks like the whole time. He looks lost. He never looked like he was, bro. Jeff Jarrett's in the ring talking shit to his face. Like, and this is the guy that stabbed you with a whatever he stabbed you with in the head and like all this other stuff. Like, these guys beat you up and he's just, Ric Flair's just standing there like, no emotion, no nothing. He's not in the moment. He's not in character. He's not firing up. He's not doing the Nature Boy. He's just a lost, tired old man. That's all he was. And he fucking sucked. It was the shits.
It could have been an easy put together of just you have Jarrett and Lethal get heat on Flair. They slip on a banana peel. He takes advantage. Hot tag to Andrade. House of Fire finish. Drape Flair on top. 1, 2, 3.
Or it could have been a thing of, no, Rick, you can't have a last match. But here's everything else to Here's everything else to celebrate you. That
would have been ideal.
Conrad assured me that they weren't doing this for the money. That Rick doesn't need the money. So I didn't feel bad about stealing it from the internet. I was like, I'll take you at your word, guys, and I'm glad because anybody that paid for this specific thing, I'm not going to say they got robbed because they did get a whole show out of it. But if they only paid for this thing and they didn't watch anything else or care about anything else, then yeah, you did get robbed. You totally got robbed, and you deserve to get robbed because you should have known. I'm going to be in the Next Level Wrestling Review collecting apologies from people who, when this whole thing was announced, they came down on me for saying that this was a bad idea, that Ric Flair would embarrass himself, that he was the shits back when he retired against Shawn Michaels, and he's even going to be even worse now because you don't get better at something by not doing it for 15 years. I took some shit for that about the people just usually saying the same old shit. Oh, Ric Flair's a legend. Oh, now you're hating on a legend, vet. Oh, you can't talk about Ric Flair can do whatever he wants, blah, blah, blah. Like all this stuff. I'm going to be getting my apologies on Wednesday morning, so be ready for that. But yeah, this was, it is. And then the funniest part, like you mentioned, The Undertaker, he's sitting in the front row, and it's just the look on his face. It's The Undertaker. Like, he's got the Undertaker look on his face. And that's probably exactly what he's thinking in his mind. He's just like, what the fuck is this shit? As they're fighting right in front of him, like Karen Jarrett's trying to get it at Megan or whatever. And like, they're like grabbing at each other, like half-heartedly trying to get some heat, but no one believes it. And it just looks shitty. And Conrad's there and he's like, hey, stop it. And he's like pawing at Jarrett, like I'm gonna hit you, but not really. And then, all this shit, and the Undertaker's just sitting there like, yeah. Really? So that was
really,
yeah, that was pretty funny. He had to put this shit over, man. The Undertaker had to watch a hero of his fucking embarrass himself, and then, so all that, then he at some point. He, like when I said he died in the ring, there was a point where he was supposed to do something and he was laying on the mat. He couldn't even get up. Like there was a point in the match where he never got to his feet again. He got up just long enough to put a figure 4 on and fall back down. But he was actually out because Conrad threw in a pair of brass knuckles to Andrade, and Andrade went and tried to put the knucks on Rick, and he was just lying there and he wasn't moving. And I was like, is this it? Is this where we say goodbye? And this is after he faked a heart attack as a spot. Like he was getting punched outside by Jay Lethal or whatever, by the barricade, and then he starts clutching his chest and walking backwards, and then Lethal goes after him, and then he like pokes him in the eye or something like that. But I made that sound way better than it looked. You probably wouldn't have even noticed it if the announcers didn't say something.
Wow, so they actually so he almost could have had a heart attack, and then he had a faked heart attack in the match as like a heel move. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that was first though. In fairness, he did fake it first, and then life almost imitated art after that.
I know. I'm just saying, like the irony of that. Wow.
Right. Yeah. Good shit.
I mean, you think he would have learned from that when they tried that in WCW?
Come on, he hasn't learned anything in his life. Haven't you paid attention? I mean, come on. But he's a legend. He can do whatever he wants. So, anyways, that was that. Anyway, and then the finish, of course, is, Jarrett's out with the brass knuckles. They put he stands up long enough to put the figure 4 on. I was surprised Andrade didn't have to just drag him and arrange their legs for him. And then the referee counts to 3, even though Flair is laying flat on his back. So they both get counted, and technically this match should be a draw or a no contest, but instead it's Ric Flair wins. And that's the thing. Ultimately, people will say, and Ric Flair's post-match, he had a post-match speech, and it was stupid. It didn't make, it didn't really have anything to do with anything. As you can imagine, he just basically said that him and Kid Rock are gonna go get drunk. How about that shit? That was his final line. He said some bar they were going to, I think. I don't know, but that's the end of, that's the closing line of Ric Flair's speech is how about that shit. And then he goes up the ramp, and then he they were trying to give him he was wearing the big gold belt when he came out, and they tried to give it back to him, and he no-sold it, and he went and all the people that came out, like all the young wrestlers and stuff that came out during his speech and stood behind him, which didn't take place in the ring, of course. It took place right on the side, on the floor, the same place where he faked a heart attack and where the Undertaker was watching in disbelief. All these people are standing there surrounding him as he's giving his speech and everything. And then he goes halfway up the aisle, then turns around, comes back. This is where he really looks lost, right? He's like, oh, which way do I go? And he goes and he starts fist bumping all those young guys. So he goes and gives everybody a fist bump. And then the guy that had his belt was trying to hold it up and give it to him. And it's right there by his face, and he's just fist bumping everybody, and then he just turns the other way and walks up, and then the guy gets left holding the belt. That's just so funny. And then he goes up to the top, and Andrade catches up with him and brings the belt with him, and he holds the belt up like he holds it up like a loaf of bread. He's like, here. He doesn't hold it up like a championship. He doesn't, he just holds the belt up like a loaf of bread and wanders back through the curtain. Very ignominious end for one of the greatest to ever did it.
Only thing that would have made that better is if when that dude held the belt up to his face, he would have fist bumped it instead.
Yes. I seriously thought maybe. So ultimately, I could talk about this for the rest of the show, just what's wrong with all of this stuff. And it's not really to shit on Ric Flair. It's to shit on Ric Flair because he deserves to be shit on in many ways. So I don't mind doing it. But it's not specifically because I have a problem with Rick. I have a problem with people just not knowing their fucking place in this world. And being afforded the opportunity to just ride off in the sunset with some dignity, and they just never get enough of this. So the thing is, everybody oh, Ric Flair loves the business, it's all he's ever loved, all this other stuff. Right. So if you love it that much, think about the other 3 guys who you just involved in this. You took 2 active wrestlers and 1 guy that could be active, but certainly looks like he could still go. And you embarrassed them because they had to sell for this shit. They had to act like a guy that didn't even know where he was and was throwing out these weak chops and shitty punches and nothing else. They had to act like they were getting pinballed around by this 73-year-old man. How do you love the business and then go out there and do that in front of people? That's not loving the business. Loving the business means respecting it enough to know that you can't fucking do it anymore. That's what loving the business is.
Randy Savage bailed on an NWA World Title run because he was like, I can't go out there looking like this.
Exactly. There's been many times where people did know that it was time, and there's been many times that they weren't. So there was enough data out there for Ric Flair to collect to say, hey, I don't think I should do this anymore. He didn't think he should do this anymore back in 2001 when they closed WCW down and he was fucking wrestling wearing a shirt then. If that had been the end, okay. But he got to have a slight resurgence in the WWE, and he did some great stuff in the WWE in the preceding decade, or the, you know, not preceding. Well, it's preceding now, but the decade that followed, in 2002 when he showed up, or 2001, whatever it was, I don't remember exactly, but it doesn't matter. When he showed up after, he did lots of good stuff and had lots of good matches with lots of people and lots of memorable things, and he got a real good retirement. And a Hall of Fame induction and all that stuff that should have been enough for him. Even if you had the itch to get back in the ring, like, you could still do it. You can just scratch that itch, literally scratch it and move on. You don't actually have to have a match to scratch it. You don't have to scratch it by taking bumps. You don't have to scratch it by, embarrassing yourself and looking like a lost old man, which is what you are. That's not how you pay back the business. That's not how you treat your son-in-law, both of them. You don't embarrass one in the ring and one out the ring. Jarrett was kind enough to come back and try to help you through this, and even he, as good of a worker as he is, couldn't do it. Poor Jay Lethal, he trained you to get back into shape, and this is what we get. Like, you embarrassed every one of those people out there, least of all yourself. More so those people, because no one expected anything from you being 73. But that's what I say. When people say things like, he's Ric Flair, he deserves to be able to do what he wants, and he loves the business, and that's why he can't stay. He just wants to do this one more time. I'm sorry. Lots of people want to do lots of things they don't get to do. Lots of people don't get to do lots of things that they want to do, and that they should be able to do. They still aren't able to do it. So, but because you're Ric Flair, you can do whatever you want, including, take a shit on the entire thing that's made. It's the only reason that anybody knows who you are, and it's the only thing you've ever cared about, including your own fucking family. So that's how you respect it, by embarrassing it. Okay, well, I guess I can't really call you the greatest of all time then, because the real greatest of all time would never do something like that. I'm going to take Ric Flair officially out of the conversation for greatest of all time, specifically for this night, right now. I used to put him pretty high up there. He's still pretty high up. Not no more. He'll never be the greatest because of this. The greatest wouldn't do it. Even earlier this year, another 70-something-year-old guy, Yoshiaki Fujiwara of the armbar that we've all heard of, that guy. He got in the ring at one of the New Japan 50th anniversary shows earlier this year, and he's 72 years old, and he was pretty bad, but he was way better than this. And this guy's fucking body looks like fucking E.T. Like, he has the physique of E.T. And he didn't wear a shirt. He was out there headbutting the ring post. He got in there, threw some guys around. You know what I mean? Like, and he was an old man, but it looked somewhat believable, way more believable than what Ric Flair did. And they're the same age. So I'm not advocating that Fujiwara should have a bunch of matches or anything, but I'm just saying there is a precedent earlier this year for a 70-year-old guy getting in the ring with his shirt off and, not being this bad. And no one's ever going to call him the greatest of all time. So I don't know. I can't say much more than that. But I probably will end up talking about it again on Wednesday when I collect my apologies. What do you say?
So yeah, Impact.
Yeah. Now let's talk about something else that there's a lot of young people shitting the bed here. But we're gonna have fun, and I'm gonna debut a new feature here on the show, Brandon. It's very exciting. Everybody should be excited.
It has something to do with placing lights everywhere.
No. No, that's an old feature. It's called hashtag turn off the lights. And you guys, I appreciate all your support. But some of you aren't getting the idea. Not, maybe nobody here, but because I know Liz is helping out, and Buckshot Kid is helping out. But we definitely need to maybe educate people on what trending means, because I'm not sure if everybody knows that. I want turn off the lights to become a trend to the point that people are like, huh? What is this? Or that it, even when you start hashtag something, that it at least comes up in a list of suggested trends, that you could be starting. The whole idea is visibility. We need to embarrass impact in public. So if you see me tweet pictures, which I have more pictures that I will be tweeting throughout the week, I won't just do them all at once. I'll do maybe one a day leading up to the next episode, because I got some good pics from this show, and I will be tweeting them. And every time I tweet them, I want you to either retweet or quote tweet it with your own comments or whatever, and hashtag turn off the lights. Be sure to add the hashtag turn off the lights. Let's get this thing trending, baby.
This ain't Motel 6.
Yeah. Especially since Killer Kelly's gone and she's here now. So, but we're going to start with Fat Eddie, who is going to team up with Kenny King to take on, well, he's not teaming up. Kenny King is his second. And Eddie's going to take on Ace, who has Bay in his corner. So that's our match. We're starting with a singles match. Now, I will say, one of the matches on Ric Flair's last match card was the Motor City Machine Guns versus the American Wolves. And if you remember the last time that we saw Davey Richards here in Impact, they did not, they were not seeing eye to eye, that's for sure. But they just teamed back up at this Ric Flair card with no dissension whatsoever. And the Machine Guns end up picking up the win. So
Made no sense.
Yeah, I guess we're just supposed to pretend that in this universe, it's a standalone universe. Now, somewhere in this match, the other two guys get ejected from ringside. And Eddie wins the match, and rightly so. Not just because he's much fatter than Ace Austin, but also
he's the leader of Honor No More, and this is the newest Bullet Club member.
Yeah, and Honor No More needs it.
They needed it. Absolutely, yes. They've basically been neutered.
Yeah. So Eddie's fat. Anyway, your thoughts?
I thought it was a decent match. I thought the only problem I had was the main problem I had with it was like when they ejected both King and Bay, it should have been more like Bay stand on top of King the entire time, and they just brawled to the back rather than the whole thing where he was like cheering him on as like King's rolling up the ramp. Like that looked really like kabuki-ish and awkward. Like it would have been easier. It would have been just easier for those two to just brawl to the back.
Yeah, as Jim Cornette would say, they fought off. They fought off. Yeah, they could have done that, but I guess they didn't. Anything else?
They've been setting up keep doing thing with Heath, and it's like, I mean, the hit and runs, okay, they're getting kind of old. We need Heath to kind of step it up. I mean, he's angry. These guys took out his best friend, and all he's doing is hitting him with his finisher. Like, shouldn't he be getting more vicious and violent with his attacks on them? Because isn't he mad like that, a little bit more angry that they took out his best friend?
Well, he's got kids, so he doesn't want to set a bad example of violence to the kids. I don't know. I don't know. Why not? I mean, at this point, I'm surprised they've even stuck with it, because it's already a little bit kind of old. It's to the point where he's like doing it on BTI, and that doesn't really, does that make it Impact? Pun intended? Pun embarrassingly and sloppily intended?
Nah, that's usually a death knell.
Okay, well, it's good that you brought him up, because Gia's going to catch him at the bottom of the stairwell, which you can bet just has all kinds of purple lights. And that was my first tweet for this week for the hashtag Turn Off the Lights campaign, featured this stairwell with this purple light and Heath Slater. So you didn't see it on Twitter, go retweet that with the hashtag turn off lights. And so he basically says he tried playing by the rules, but now he's going to give the wake up call to everybody. I haven't even kept track of how many people he's given it to. Is that it? You just hit your finisher on one guy each, and then you're done. You're done getting revenge. Is that all?
Exactly. Like, come on. Like, really? That's it? That's all you got for him?
Yeah, that's it. Buckshot Kid asks, why was Gia there with the camera guy? That's a good question. But since we know, spoiler alert for later in the show, since we know that Scott D'Amour's office is at the top of these same stairs, then she was probably just thought that would be a good place to camp out for interviews.
And not a bad thought process.
Yeah, you know, I still think it's somewhat dubious that that's the reason, but I'm trying to cover here for them. Don't ever say I never did anything for you, Impact. Yeah, I'm trying to take your lights away, but I'm giving you ideas. So they showed how last week Josh Alexander was watching the main event, and then he was going to run out there and help, but Shira intercepted his save attempt when he runs into Raj in the hall, and then they start fighting. There's ugly lights all over this. Just gross. It just looked like streaks on the wall at this point because the hallway has normal lighting, so the light doesn't show up as well, and it just looks like somebody like threw a juice box against the wall and it splattered. Grape would have been the flavor of the juice box, I think, in this scene. So it's pretty shitty. Then that was anyway. That was our recap of what happened last week.
And at least they covered why Alexander didn't run out during the violent VBD beatdown. Yep.
Anybody's guess why, if they were filming it last week, they didn't show it last week. But, you know, again, neither here nor there. So Josh is now with Gia, who's not in the stairs, but she's moved back to her normal interview spot. No music underneath. Interrupted by Shelley. Alex Shelley comes in. He didn't mean to interrupt, though, so it's okay. He made sure to tell you that he didn't mean to interrupt. But he basically says that he wants Josh to come out of his match tonight with Shira unscathed, unhurt, untouched. He doesn't want any excuses. He's sorry he didn't mean to interrupt. Go back to your interview. And then there's no more interview. It's over. You ruined it. You interrupted it, Alex. You know, we can't just go back to a normal interview after you just walk in and didn't mean to interrupt, but you did anyway. Right? So, anyway. So yeah. Any thoughts on this Josh Alexander stuff?
I mean, at least they're trying to build Shelley. Of course, they could have done a little bit more than have him just kind of do the kind of cheeky interrupt. Like, I didn't really feel like they really did much here. And this is the typical. We've seen this promo, you know, a million times.
And this interruption a million times. Yep. But at least he didn't mean to. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. Laredo and Trey come out versus Zicky and Swinger. Okay, so on the entrance here, when Trey does his spray paint, he was behind the initial circle. He got closer on the M, though, than he has been in a while. So I'll give him credit. He improved on the M speed, but then he was behind the circle, which, God, that you can't do that. That's not what we want. All right. So in this match,
why is he not practicing this before the show?
No,
like getting with production, like, okay, let's run it and time it.
No, he's not. He thinks he can just go out and do it. Anyway, so during the match, at some point, Zicky Dice goes out and like they put on the team, both of the guys go out and put on these like studded muzzles, masks, whatever. I think they're trying to be like Demolition, but again, these are just more sex toys. And then Laredo Kid
Demolition cosplayers, daddy.
That's it. I couldn't really hear what they were saying because my volume was low at this point, but what I did notice was that Laredo Kid finally gets a win when he pins Zicky Dice after a frog splash, I think. And yeah. So my whole thing here is between this thing that these guys are doing here and between Gaggles the Gimp character on NWA, apparently somebody on struggling shitty internet wrestling thinks that bondage jokes are the key to growth for the company. I don't know if I agree. Brandon, what do you think?
Maybe somebody saw Pulp Fiction for the first time and got inspiration from the Gimp.
That sounds like something somebody would have said about Vince McMahon, but he's no longer here to make these decisions. And nobody should be watching 30-year-old movies to get ideas and act like everybody doesn't know what that idea is from. But, like, what does it have to do with wrestling? I mean, where do you go with it? Is this a main event? Is this a Bound for Glory main event? Zicky and Swinger in full BDSM mode? Like, is that going to sell any tickets? I want to know. Like, I want someone to try to defend this to me. Sir?
I'd buy a
Ma'am?
ticket.
You buy a ticket? Really? You buy a ticket just for this?
It's fun. I find their act funny as shit. I'm sorry.
Okay. But I'm not talking about, like, they are funny, but is it specifically the dungeon and bondage jokes?
It is part of it.
All right, well, there you have it.
I have a very dirty sense of humor.
No doubt. Well, okay, I guess
I think this is Laredo's first pin I've seen him get an Impact too.
It's the first one we've seen. Maybe he's getting some BTI stuff here. I don't know. Well, speaking of BTI, Vincent got psyched out by Heath's music, and got packaged up by Bhupinder Gujjar. So it's not a gargoyle spear, but yeah. Then after, so they showed this from BTI, and then they do this whole thing with Myers and Gujjar again. Would you like to just explain this to the people, what happened here? Because I couldn't be bothered to take notes on it. I know I can remember what happened if you don't remember, or if you didn't have notes, but would you like to give it a shot, try to catch the people on what this whole thing was?
It was basically the thing where Gudrid once again cornered Brian Myers, demanding a title shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then Myers came up with another made up a fake story of, I made a challenge to anybody in the locker room, and somebody stepped up and already took it tonight. Man, sorry, you already missed it for tonight. And then crazy Steve and Black Taurus show up, and the thing's like, oh yeah, we were there. Yeah, Black Taurus is the one who took your challenge. Kind of like that thing, kind of like forcing him to live up to the lie.
Right. So now, instead of just facing Gujjar like he should have, he's got a much scarier prospect than Black Taurus, although Black Taurus does a lot more jobs than Gujjar, so maybe this isn't so scary for Myers. But yeah, that's basically what happened. And there's shitty lights here, just in case.
And then they try to get out of that one too by like, oh yeah, but I'd love to do it tonight, but we got through the process. Demore's got to approve it, and then Demore walks by. It's approved.
Yeah, he just walks by. It's approved. Yeah. Ha ha ha. Oh my God. Comedic. So comedic. Going back to the whole bondage thing. Lab Rat says, don't forget Liv's outfit. And Elizabeth says, hell, WWE's dressing 3/4 of the women in dominatrix gear. Yeah, but that's cool because she's a hot chick. Rhea Ripley's a hot chick. I don't want to see these fat dudes in this shit. Or Gaggles the Gimp, a full Gimp, just having matches like it's no big deal. And you wonder why you can't get on TV. I'm surprised YouTube hasn't struck him down for content. Like, this is gross. Anyway. All right. Here's an interesting one. But before we oh no, we already know you liked it. Tasha is out for commentary on a match between Tiffany Nieves and Jada Stone, who are apparently handpicked from OVW by Tasha to try to join the flavor division or whatever she's saying out there, right?
Me that I took notice of. Wait a minute. So you have a heel out there and a pride shirt. Okay.
I mean, can she help it that people don't like her? You could be two things.
And I get that. It's just bad optics, in my opinion.
Like, if a heel is gay, which she is, can you wear a pride shirt? Or are you supposed to support straight It's just I don't know, I don't really know what the protocol is there.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a little bit of a bad look. It's a little bit of bad optics. Like a heel promoting it. In my opinion, it's kind of bad optics. That's just my opinion.
Well, in my opinion, it's bad optics because Pride Month is over. So we have to put everything gay away for another 11 months, right? It's only allowed to be out during the month of June. Huh? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's already been, yeah, exactly. We're already 2 months removed now. So, all right. But yeah, all that kidding aside, if it matters, Nieves wins. They called her Neves. The announcer called her Nieves. Tom called her Neves. Tiffany Neves. I'm pretty sure that Tiffany Neves is gonna definitely be supporting Pride. If what do you think? Am I off base here? I feel like that this is definitely a Giselle Shaw situation as well. But in any case, none of this matters because the whole reason this existed was to set up the arrival of Kelly Kelly, if you will. So we were advertised to see Kelly Kelly this week. And I guess her whole thing was to come out and beat up these two women. Like, that's what they booked her to do. Because it's one thing if you didn't say she's coming and she shows up. It's another thing if you say she'll be here and then they show up for something that's like, wait, did they have something else planned for her and she jumped the gun? Like, why is she doing this? Did you plan for her to jump people? Did you just plan to interview her? I mean, you played her music, so clearly you knew something was going to happen. That's the kind of dumb detail shit in wrestling that I really wish people would pay more attention to instead of just go, it's just wrestling, just do it. The best line of the entire show, or maybe the entire weekend, is as Kelly's coming down the ramp, Tasha's like, who this bitch?
You know what? Actually, she could actually be a decent, maybe Harley Quinn to Sami Callihan's Joker.
Killer Kelly?
Maybe.
She doesn't strike me as the Harley Quinn type. Much less charisma than Harley Quinn.
Not like that, like personality, but like that role or that position.
The sidekick.
Like the partner.
Are we supposed to like her or not, though?
True.
Because even though she did come out here, like ostensibly it was something.
It looked like she was targeting Tasha, and the other two just happened to be in the ring.
Right. It was against Tasha, but what she did was very heelish, beating up two innocent women who had just had a match and didn't ask for any of this. So again, it's role confusion.
Right. It's sending mixed messages.
Or as Lab Rat says, she had to knock out the other hookers from the corner, which that's also viable. But my favorite part of all this was as she's doing this get over, she grabs Jada Stone and puts her in a double underhook, okay? And Kelly stands stock still while Stone jumps up into position for the move. She just holds her arms, and this girl just jumps with her lower body and sticks her legs straight up in the air as Killer Kelly just stands there like, yeah, I'm doing this. And then she hits her with the, what is this? A slapjack? I don't know. Whatever you call this move here. It's like a pedigree without, or a J driller without a sit out, or it's like a slapjack, right? It's like what Stevie Ray kind of used to do. He picks them up, they go to their knees. It's almost a pedigree, but not. Just slapjack. We'll just call it a slapjack. Slapjack.
And then she did this thing with the this submission with the. It didn't look like it do anything. It looked like she's kind of pressed her forearm against her head, and then she passed out. Huh?
Yeah, it was like some version of a modified Cobra Clutch deal.
It didn't.
Where she grabbed the person's elbow instead of just the hands.
It didn't look like anything.
Well, you just must not be versed in the submission arts, because this was definitely a serious and deadly move that Killer Kelly's been practicing in her motel room. She probably practiced it on that guy, that Mark that came up to her and was talking to her and wouldn't go away. He's probably
Yeah.
like floating in a pool somewhere in the motel, face down.
Or
After
between
that,
maybe between the mattresses.
maybe.
Housekeeping finds him.
Right. They probably don't clean the mattresses that well, so
That didn't look like one of those motels that actually cleans up.
yeah. The guest just comes in and is just like, God, my back is killing me. That mattress is so lumpy. But yeah. Elizabeth says, it's an assassin move. Yeah. So it was, that was the debut of Kelly Kelly. What do you think? Oh, excuse me, Killer Kelly. Sorry.
I still don't get what this is supposed to be like. Who are you? What is this? Like, you show up in like just regular street clothes, like we still don't know anything about you.
She's very mysterious. Maybe intrigue and mystery is the key. Because
Maybe.
I've seen her for years now, and like overwhelming charisma is not one of her strong suits. So maybe she's leaning into mystery and intrigue instead. A good fix for that. So we get some more 2-camera shoot, violent by design in the stairs foolishness here. With where Eric Young, the message I get from this is, first they're going to take out the machine guns, then they're going to go after Kushida. They're not going to, do anything out of order here. So there's shitty lights here in case you were wondering, which you didn't have to wonder. You probably weren't wondering because you already knew there were shitty lights here. And yes, I got a picture.
I did kind of. It was kind of interesting. Yeah, it was kind of interesting camera shot how they had like, Diener and Young like on opposite stairwells sitting facing away from each other. I thought that was a interesting camera shot. And then Doring standing off in the corner.
It's interesting, but it's pretentious. It's like it actually serves no purpose, but it tries. It's like you're trying to think that you're some kind of film school project student or whatever, and you're trying to be interesting for the sake of interesting's sake. Like, after seeing thousands and thousands of movies and stuff, I can see through all this amateur bullshit of you trying to act like you know what you're doing, but you're just a wrestling camera guy and doing blocking like that. But I'll take anything at this point, really. Alex Shelley.
Yeah, at least it's an effort.
Yeah, an effort. We got to give him points for effort because some of the stuff is not. Here's some effort. An Alex Shelley package. Somebody put together a nice package and a retrospective of Alex Shelley to explain why this guy is fucking about to be in a main event spot. And of course, there are shitty lights all over this thing. Which is interesting because they talked to Jimmy Jacobs in this package. And Jimmy Jacobs could be the reason that we see all these lights all over the floor and on the walls and everything. Because a man who paints his toenails would certainly know everything about unnecessary colors. So, is it Jimmy Jacobs' fault? Should we go at him directly? I don't want to do anything without confirmation.
He's been back with them, right?
I really honestly don't know, but he's at least on good terms enough that they reach out to get a soundbite from him for this Alex Shelley career retrospective, which also includes Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano appears. I'm sure this was written into Mickey James's rider. Oh yes, and we need to be able to use Johnny Gargano for an Alex Shelley career retrospective, and I get to use my music, and I get to wear the Impact title, like all that stuff. All that stuff is included in Mickey James's stuff from the Royal Rumble. So Johnny Gargano, hey, all right.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is currently as a member of the creative team, Jimmy Jacobs.
There you go. So hashtag turn off the lights, Jimmy Jacobs. Hashtag unpaint the toenails. He can paint his toenails if he wants. All right. So it is now time. Did you want to add anything about the Alex Shelley package?
Nah, I like that they're putting an effort into trying to make at least Shelley look like a credible potential threat to Alexander. I mean, they're putting an effort. It's nice to see that. rather than to be a throwaway match.
Okay, I agree. They should do that, and they did it, and here it was, and they got Johnny Gargano. Thank you, Mickey James. All right, so now it's time for a new segment or feature or whatever you want to call it here on the Impact Attack that I'm going to try out. I don't want to make this a regular feature because it requires a lot of work. Putting this feature together made watching Impact this week at least 3 times longer than it would have normally taken me because of the painstaking effort that I put in to make up for the lack of effort that Impact is usually putting in. And in this, so it took me longer than I would like, and I only want to do this if it's very applicable. And I can't ignore it, which is how it came about in the first place. As I'm watching this match, this is now the match with Mahabali Shera versus Josh Alexander. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I started realizing, like, if I made a list of everything that they did wrong in this match, like, I could turn this into a segment. And so, I now debut the new segment on the Impact Attack. What did they do wrong? Starring me and co-starring Brandon.
Hi.
Yeah. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you, Vet?
Super. All right. Without any further ado, let's get to everything wrong with this match. All right. So it doesn't take long before I start noticing things. But somehow Josh Alexander, within the first 35, 45 seconds of the match, ends up with an abdominal stretch on Shera. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he just finds himself putting an abdominal stretch on Shera in the first minute of the match somewhere. Right?
How? That's not where that goes.
It's not where that goes. I didn't even count that as something they did wrong, Brandon. I didn't do it. That wasn't even it. It's what I'm about to say.
I can maybe understand if you get lost and it's better than like standing there with your dick in your hand. I get that.
Mm-hmm. Most people just grab a headlock, but hey, if you want to put on a abdominal stretch / cobra twist, whatever you want to call it, go for it. But that's not even the thing. I'm not even counting that. I'm just we're just assuming that okay, in a vacuum, you've got this guy, Josh Alexander, putting this massive human, Shera, in abdominal stretch. All right. So after Shera breaks the abdominal stretch, which this is still not the wrong thing, but he like elbows him in the knee, like he elbows Josh Alexander in the knee, and then like, but that's not necessary. But that's beside the point. We'll get back to that. He pushes Josh to the corner. Okay, so he breaks the thing, and then he pushes Josh Alexander to the corner, and then beels him out across the ring. Okay, here's why that's wrong. It's just there's so much unnecessary movement, from striking the knee to pushing walking a guy across the ring when you don't need to, just to throw him across to the other side of the ring. In this situation, the size of this man, if you're trying to show like Mahabali is giant, he is muscular, he is strong, and he is dangerous, the easiest way to do that is you slap on this abdominal stretch and he completely shrugs it off and just hip tosses you right where you stand. You don't work like a same size thing, even though Josh Alexander's not a tiny man. He's much smaller than Shera. So you don't need to like walk him halfway across the ring, then throw him all the way back across the ring. If you wanted to do that spot, that should have been, it's like, you shouldn't have ever even got to an abdominal stretch. You should have done a collar and elbow tie-up, pushed him back to the corner with your strength, and then beeled him the fuck out of the corner all the way to the other corner. Instead, you did a bunch of stupid shit just to get into a fucking abdominal stretch. This is on both these guys and the agent. Fuck you. God damn it. You are going to get a masterclass here. You're going to find out in this new segment why they exactly called me the vet. Well, they called me the vet because they were making fun of how I was new, but still, why I earned the name after all these years to keep it. That's number one. Key number one: show strength. If you have a strong guy, show strength. Okay. Number two. So after this Beal, okay, immediately after the Beal, Josh feeds up and he stands up in the corner, right? Because he just got Bealed from post to post. So he stands up in the turnbuckle. And then Shira walks him to the center rope to do an Irish whip. Completely unnecessary again. All you do is sell to the rope. You don't have Shira come and take you over to the rope. If the spot is to shoot a guy from center rope to the other side, you sell to the rope. You don't sell to the buckle and make somebody walk you to the rope. Not even like punching you. Like even if you wanted to, if somebody goes to the buckle and you didn't want them to, and the next spot is Irish whip, you go over there and hit him with something. Fucking punch him. Put a shoulder in his stomach, and then while you're hitting him, you call the next spot, say sell to the rope, and then he'll walk over. You don't walk the guy over to the rope to shoot him off. Why would you do that? You already have the guy. Just throw him from where you're at.
Or go into corners, Joe. Work heat around the ring.
Yeah, whatever you do, it's not that. So that's it. Just sell to the rope. Okay. On this shoot off, Shira bends over for a backdrop. All right. Josh grabs the rope to stop himself, and he kicks Shira. You don't do both. You pick one. Whichever one you do. You either come off with a kick, or you grab the rope and stop, and then he stands up, and then he comes after you, and then whatever. Whatever.
Over or wherever you want to go to from there.
Yeah, wherever you want to go. Duck the line. Whatever you do. It's not this though. You don't do that. You don't grab the rope and then have the guy stay bent over. Now, in their defense, they did it really quickly, and Shira had crowded him. He was too close. Like normally you'd bend over in the middle, like dead center in the middle of the ring for a backdrop, and then the guy runs.
Though for his size, though, he probably had to get close, otherwise he'd launch him into the ropes.
Right, but even so, still a little too close. So that's why it worked, because Josh Alexander could reach and kick, but you don't need to stop yourself. You just kick. Now, we've got Shira selling on the rope, like he feeds over to those ropes again, so he can feed over to the ropes. Then Josh Alexander goes for 3 clotheslines. He goes for the clothesline to try to clothesline him over the ropes, and he doesn't go. Then he runs across the ring and hits him with a second clothesline. He doesn't go. Finally, he runs across the ring and hits him with a third clothesline, and he goes over. Well, here's the problem with that. Shira was not selling during the clotheslines. He just fired up and yelled at him. So Josh runs and hits him with the clothesline. He's like, ugh. And then Josh runs across the ring, hits him again. He's like, ugh. It's like he's making gorilla noises,
right,
and clearly not selling. And then he just stands there, waits for the third one, and then falls outside the ring, which is like
the buildup for that should have been him. He plows through the third one and knocks Josh down.
Yes, or if the spot is to go over, then you have to sell the clotheslines to make it to explain why you're still standing there.
Right, you can't just You actually have to, those other clotheslines had to have an effect on you for you to go over the top.
Yes, if you can fire up, you can also just not stand there waiting for a guy to run 18 feet to hit you. So if you're aware enough, if you have your faculties, if you're not Ric Flair, you are able to actually, stop this guy as he's running away from you. Like he has to turn his back and run away from you. So whoever came up with this spot's an idiot. And then as soon as he does go over on the clothesline, he immediately fixes his elbow pad, because that's very important. It wasn't slipped down or anything. He just felt like adjusting it. So I guess the clothesline didn't really hurt. So he's just taking a nap out there. No big deal. But he takes back over on Josh at some point. And instead of one of those clubs to the back where you bend the guy over and hit him in the back, or, say a classic punch to the face, Shira kind of compromises and meets somewhere in the middle with like a whack-a-mole move. He kind of like takes a fist and just like hits him on the top of the head. So that's fucking stupid. Josh, at some point, Josh tried to get Shira to sit on the apron for that cross body to the back thing he likes to do. But here's the problem. Shira doesn't know anything about wrestling, and he's standing on the apron, and Josh is on the inside of the ring. So Josh does the neck snap on the rope, and Shira just stands there. And then he starts kicking at Shira's ankles with these little Orange Cassidy-like kicks. And Shira is like, what's happening? And then finally he just like grabs him and hits him a bunch of times, and he's probably telling him, just sit down on the apron. So yeah, that was pretty fucking bad. But the point of me bringing that up is you have to communicate, especially with guys with English as a second or third language, or guys that are super green, even though he's been in the business for like damn near 10 years at this point. Like when you're working with these guys, you have to be very clear on what you want them to do at all times. Otherwise, you're going to get shit like this. So that's on Josh, really. If he didn't tell Shira, that could happen to anybody. If he didn't tell Shira what he wanted him to do, he's not just going to know. So it could be a case where they've already talked about all this in the back, and Josh is just expecting him to remember the spot, and he doesn't. And so you're just doing a neck snap, and he's like, okay, you snap my neck on the rope, but what next? You know, like if you don't tell the guy, he doesn't know what you want. That's true even if you're a veteran. Like, you're not some guys have a good intuition. They know where to sell and how to sell. And they can just put themselves in the spot that you want them even before they know it or need it. Shira's not that guy, but even if you're a veteran guy, it could happen where if you're not sure what's coming next and they didn't tell you, you're going to look stupid. It happens all the time, not just Shira. So,
communication.
Right. So, those are like the main points of what they did wrong. But here's some larger picture things about how this match didn't work. So Josh kept knocking him outside the ring and throwing him back in. It's like, make up your mind, dude. Like, do you want to fight outside or do you want to fight in the ring? If you don't want to fight outside, then stop doing spots where people end up outside. It just looks weird when you just keep like taking this guy and just knocking him all around and then just tossing him back in the ring. Why would you even bother? Just let him get counted out or something. Like, it doesn't make sense. The psychology doesn't make sense. But that could be due to something else. Raj tried interfering, but nothing ended up happening. And then back in the ring, here's the finish, guys. Josh eats 3 punches to the face, 2 punches to the body and 1 to the face. And then he just single leg Shira, takes him down and puts an ankle lock on him, and Shira taps out. There is absolutely no way this was the planned finish. Something happened in this match at some point. I don't know what, but things went off the rails and they changed a lot of stuff. Because, like, with the telltale signs were like the interference with Raj never going anywhere, or the fact that Shira wasn't communicating, or that he looked like he might have, I don't know if he was selling his ankle before because of something that happened, or because he already knew what the finish was going to be, but it was weird. Like, Shira was acting weird and it looked like they cut the match short. They may have edited some stuff out of this match, actually. And I wouldn't be surprised based on how it went. Because if this is what we saw on TV, God knows what they saw in the arena that day. So, yeah, this definitely looked like a situation where some stuff got changed on the fly and it ended up being awkward. Josh Alexander looked pissed when he was walking up the ramp. He could have just been in character, but he kind of had that look back like, what the fuck was that? And I'm sure that many people have had that feeling after being with Shira. So, not the ideal promotion for OVW, but, I mean, still, the only accredited trade wrestling school out there.
No, they can't. Not everybody can bat 1,000. No, nobody can bat 1,000.
No. So, what did you think of this match, and how do you like this new proposed segment of what they did wrong?
I like the segment, and this is a perfect match to do it on, because, this was brutal. They did not mix well at all. The chemistry was just so off. And we already know that Shira he still doesn't get it. or still isn't where he needs to be, where for how long he's been in it.
Yeah, it's a shame. He seems like a wonderful human. So, but I find often that guys who look like Shira and are very nice guys often don't get wrestling at all. I mean, I've had personal experience with that.
Maybe
like,
the business isn't for them. Like they're just not. It's just it's like what Stevie Ray always says. You got to get in where you fit in, and maybe that's just not where they fit in.
Yeah, the problem is, you know, you got guys telling you when you look like that, you should be a wrestler. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, it almost never works out. You know, it's very rare that you get like a Lex Luger situation out of this kind of thing. Most of it ends up being like this. Right. A Mahabali Shira.
I know wrestling is a very visual business, but you have to have the other element to it too. Like, you can't be just visual. You got to be able to work safely and believably.
Yes, it's just a thing. I mean, people complain about too many small guys in wrestling. I get it. It's just unfortunate that those guys are more coordinated. It's just the way it is. They have less body mass to move around. It's not as awkward for them. There's a reason why the best wrestlers of all time were a certain size. Like, people don't talk about, you know, when they're talking about, you know, the Shawn Michaels and the Bret Harts and things like that, they're not throwing in the fucking Andre the Giants or the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, they don't put those guys in those same conversations, and there's a reason for that. It's just, that's not what they're there to do. So
Andre was an attraction.
Right. And he's an attraction because he's that big. But even, you know, guys of a certain, like, once you get over, I had a friend tell me once, it's like, once you get over 6'5", the coordination starts getting iffy. You know? So you want guys to be big because you want them to be larger than life. But the reality is, in a lot of sports, like in a lot of combat sports, a lot of guys aren't towering giant bodybuilders. They just, you know, like, how many fights has Bob Sapp lost in mixed martial arts? Like, a lot. Okay, and like, he looks like someone unleashed a gorilla on humanity. But he loses a lot because he really can't fight that good. But you look at a guy like that and you're like, well, he should be a fighter. He should kick everybody's ass, and he can't, because being big doesn't mean you can fight. So,
I mean, for every you know, good big man wrestler you get like 3 bad ones. Like, for every Undertaker you get 3 Kurgans.
Mm-hmm. Right, who was also a nice guy, I heard. So, but regardless of that, all that, even saying all that stuff I said, can you believe it? This wasn't the worst match I saw this weekend. So, Moose with Gia and no music underneath. Moose denies any connection to Burt Macklin with the direct quote, and I'm quoting here, quote, "Me and Steve Macklin is not a thing," end quote. So an emphatic denial from Moose that he and Steve Macklin are a thing, even though I think he misspoke. I think he meant to say Burt Macklin FBI, but he said Steve. I'll give him a pass on that. But I like what Moose is doing here, where it's, you know, clearly like, you know, when Gia's like, well, what was he doing in your dressing room last week? It's like, I don't know, Gia. I wasn't in my dressing room last week. But maybe I should be looking into why Steve Macklin was in my dressing room last week, or, you know, shit like that. But Moose is very believable in that he's not doing like the comedy stuff like Brian Myers does, like, oh yeah, I told somebody else they could have a shot at the title, where he's clearly lying, you know? Like, if Moose is lying, he's telling it to you the same way he'd tell you the truth.
Yeah, exactly, like it's like the whole, like, a Willy Wonka thing. You don't know if he's working you or not.
Right. And if Moose had a cool top hat like Willy Wonka, then maybe we could do something. But
he could actually make that work. He's the only one on the roster who could.
Yeah, I wouldn't try it anyway. But just saying. Plus, Magic Jake Dumas is doing a top hat thing. Yeah, honor no more moves from one poorly lit room to one with Scott D'Amore in it. Yes, it is the stairs.
Man, like
Yes.
I saw all these like so many different ones like laid out. Like, okay, this is they know what's up. This is they're declaring war.
Yeah, did I have to like? I was like, can I take one picture of this, or am I have to take a video? Like, what's the deal here? I didn't want to take a video because, and my pictures will be low quality this week because, let's just say my normal site was down. And I went to a different one, and they didn't have high def, so like all my pictures are in like 480p. But forgive me. But anyway, yes, I do have pictures of this. Yes, it is a stairwell. Yes, Scott's office door is right at the top of the stairs, just like anybody's office would be. And so Honor No More is demanding consequences for Heath's actions and also title shots. And then Scott D'Amore's like, or Tall Ace also in Mickey Mouse gloves is like, we want our title shots at the tag team championships. And he's like, who's we? And he said, what are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Me and Mike Bennett. And then everybody's like, where's Mike Bennett? Mike Bennett disappeared. And then they all run off looking for Mike. And then Fat Eddie's left there. And Scott tells him, like, it's tough being a leader in these situations or something like that. And then that's it. So yeah, Tanoni Lorcan has gone missing. Presumably Heath had something to do with this. We've seen him on the stairs. There's a precedent for this. There's we have eyewitnesses that saw him around the stairs area, so he could have abducted Tanoni Lorcan here. What'd you think of all this? Besides the lights, obviously, which we already talked about being shitty, and we'll have photo evidence of later in the week. But what do you think of kidnapping Tanoni Lorcan?
I mean, we've been seeing the abductions happening before, in this company and the last year.
In every company. Abductions happen all the time in pro wrestling. It's more dangerous than fucking Mexico in pro wrestling. Can you imagine Mexican pro wrestling? I wonder if people come up missing in AAA all the time. I say I wonder because I don't watch. But
I could believe it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's see. Jessica wants to invite herself to Chel and Deanna's biggest party of the summer. Was that line thrown in there on purpose? Biggest party of the summer? I think it was. I think they were taking a shot there. So my only note for this was that Rosemary's facial expressions are priceless, unlike the lighting, which is cheap. But what did you think of this?
I thought Taya at one point. There were a couple times I thought Taya was going to tip over forward.
I see.
I'm actually really enjoying this new dynamic between Taya, Jessica, and Rosemary. Like her just being annoyed at how like girly the other two are acting around here. Like that is just entertainment gold, and she plays it off perfectly.
Okay. What did you think of the line when Jessica comes to ask for the invite and she say that's Jessica with a C and a K because I'm sick?
I laughed at that. I thought that was funny. Like I like her showing personality like that. I'm liking that.
Okay. I won't disagree with you. I also like that it's just not standing around waiting for a bus like she always does. Something else. So let's go with it. But speaking of let's go with it, Raj won't go. He's still in the ring. And he won't leave till he gets justice. And then the lights go out and Sammy comes in and gives him a pile driver and says he's basically coming for Moose. He's coming for Moose. Thoughts?
And thumbs up, thumbs down a million times.
Yeah, what is that even? I never even understood that catchphrase. It's like he just saw Batista do it, and then he added words to it.
Right, like that's immediately what everybody thinks of when you think of thumbs up, thumbs down in wrestling is that moment. That's it.
But what is it even like? What do you mean thumbs up, thumbs down? Like, it's never thumbs up. It's always thumbs down. Why do you even say thumbs up? Why are we even starting with this? I don't know. Yeah, it's like it's like you know how they have like descriptive services for the blind on movies and stuff where they It's like, hey, Captain America picks up Thor's hammer. Like, that's how you guys are watching the movie. It's like, all right, well, if you're blind, you don't know what Captain America or Thor's hammer look like. Anyway, is he just doing descriptive video service for the blind, letting him know that he's putting his thumbs up and then his thumbs down? Whatever. Now we get the Flair moment of the week. Oh, this wasn't the moment of the week, brother. Let me tell you. This was much better times, and it really had little to do with Ric Flair. So this is from the June 17th, 2010 version of Impact, where they actually had the official formation of the group Fortune, but that's not really what this is remembered for. This is remembered for Jay Lethal coming out, doing a spot on Ric Flair, and them getting into a woo-off. If you ever see clips of Jay Lethal doing Ric Flair, it's probably this. It's probably from this episode where they're both wooing at each other and taking off clothes, and Jay Lethal drops a knee on the stage, which I hope he put his knee pad on under his slacks first, because that looked very painful. This was happier memories of Rick, but even then, that's when people like me were probably already going, this is sad that Ric Flair's here at TNA. I didn't know how bad the business could get after 2010, so to me, this was a low point. But now, looking back on it, I realize that just by default, the bar has been lowered so much that this has risen in the pantheon automatically. What did you think about this, reminiscing on the great woo-off?
It was definitely one of the better moments of that era of TNA. And it was actually fun. Like, and you see, like, watching it, and like they cut to Ric Flair, and you see in his, like, look in his face, seeing it's like he is trying so hard not to bust out laughing because he's enjoying that and having fun. Like, I gotta stay in character, gotta stay in character, gotta stay in character.
Yeah, he's got he can't help but smirk at the whole thing. And I don't know if this is a controversial take or not, but I think Jay Lethal's Ric Flair is way better than his Macho Man, actually.
Oh, I don't think that's not controversial at all. That's like, you could close your eyes and you think Ric Flair's having a conversation with himself.
Yep. Well, here's another reason to close your eyes. Mia Yim is with Gia and no music underneath. They're interrupted by hacking. This broadcast gets hacked. And then we go back to the desk where Tom and Matt are apologizing, and then all of a sudden we get loss of video and we get a test pattern. Okay. We get a loss of video except for the camera that follows Scott D'Amore out to the truck. We got that still. We got that feed. And we find Honor No More's like at the production truck, and they're like pulling on wires like Gremlins or something, like a scene out of the movie Gremlins where they're all climbing on stuff and like yanking it out. They're like, yeah. Yep, that's it. That's the theme. Don't get us struck down. Yeah. So yeah. Basically, they go to break and they come back and they're still out there yelling, and Scott's like, Scott, just a long story short, Scott puts out the stipulation like, all right, you get your fucking shot at Emergence to be a number one contender. And if you win, you're the number one contenders. If you lose, Honor No More has to disband forever.
And I like that he pulled the precedent off from when Jim Cornette did that to him in Team Canada back in the day.
Yeah. I don't like the fact that he could just fire them all for messing with the production truck.
Right.
But
like
who cares about that?
Right. I mean, you basically destroyed company property. You could absolutely get fired and have no problem with that.
Yep. That's,
go to any court of law, like, they have very justifiable grounds to fire you off of that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, they've been plenty of reasons for them not to hire Honor No More than they did, and then they've done fireable things since they've been there, and they haven't. And again, this is just pro wrestling. We're all supposed to just sit there and watch this and say, it's just pro wrestling. It's just a TV show. It's supposed to be fun. Well, okay, but it sucks. I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, people think about these things. Like, they laugh at it. This is why people that like wrestling, that don't watch it anymore, give things like this a chance and fucking never give it a chance again. They're just like, this is stupid. Why would I watch this? It matters. It really does matter. Elizabeth says, what are the Canadian rules? They're nicer up there. Well, that's true. Maybe Buckshot Kid could confirm that they're nicer about those type of things. Just don't do it again, eh? Stay away from the production trucks. Yeah. Aaron Ben Shlomo here. Only thing good about Honor No More is Maria. Does not do anything and looks great to watch. Well, that's a very sexist take, Aaron Ben Shlomo. How dare you? Women are people too. They're not just objects. They're not just butts in too small shorts that are there for you to stare at constantly. Who am I kidding? That's exactly what they're there for. All right. So the main event is Rich Swann versus Kushida. Kushida.
This is my first time seeing Kushida, and I immediately became a fan.
Oh, please elaborate.
I like his character work. Like I immediately noticed too how he's obviously very much gets it. Like when he started doing the part that made me kind of stand up and notice is like before he went to break when he threw Swan to the outside and he did his character and gimmick work, and that's when everybody started popping and cheering. It's like, all right, I like this guy.
Buckshot Kid says the rules are sit and have a beer. Fair enough. It's a moose head, right? You have a moose head. So yeah, I mean, what do you expect? He's a real wrestler from a real wrestling company, not a cartoon bullshit American wrestling company. So he knows what to do in there. And Kushida has never even been like one of my favorites or like one of the people I always look forward to watching the most. But even a guy like him, when you take him out of New Japan and put him in this environment, he knows how to get over with anybody. And the time that he spent in the WWE and NXT and everything has also taught him whatever he may not have known about trying to get over with certain audiences and certain places that have never seen you before. So whatever he didn't already know, which was almost everything, he probably learned the rest of it in NXT. And it's very easy to be in these situations. He may have even worked with Rich Swann. I can't remember if Rich Swann was still in NXT when Kushida arrived. It's possible that he was. The timeline might have lined up there.
2020, right?
I don't know, but I do know that...
So I think that might have been when Swan actually got the Impact title. I don't remember.
But he was...
Or no, wait, that was last year. Or was that? Or was that later 2020? I don't remember.
Well, I don't know. All I know is they were both on 205 Live at different points, but it might have even been like an overlap. It would have been towards the end of Rich Swann and the beginning of Kushida, if at all. So they may have never crossed paths, but they probably knew each other from whatever. So yeah. So even though Kushida, like I said, not one of my personal favorites, but even just the simple touch of like the Back to the Future gimmick, right? Like he dresses like the hoverboard that Marty McFly steals from the little girl in Back to the Future 2. Like his like little his little trim on his shorts and stuff like that is like the reflective stuff. Like, he's just a big Back to the Future fan. He usually comes out in his big denim jacket with orange life preserver vest thing, puffy vest.
The Back to the Future 1 outfit.
Yeah, and the Doc Brown glasses from Part 2 where he comes from the future, the silver ones. So like he's a big fan of the movie. He incorporates into the movie. His finish is called the hoverboard lock, and so even that, like even just basically just being a Japanese guy, just the fact that he dresses like a movie from the 80s is already some personality and character. And then like you said, what he was doing. So that's two guys that you became a fan of just in seeing the short time. Like you talked about Ishii when he was here to have the matches leading up to Josh Alexander, and now we got Kushida. You've seen Jay White, you've seen El Phantasmo. Seeing a pattern here, like with these guys. I'm not that crazy, guys, when I say New Japan is the only real wrestling company out here. Everybody else is just doing some bullshit. But yeah, so anyway, continue with your thoughts on the match, if any.
Okay. I really liked how like they were reading the crowd, and I noticed like as Kushida was getting the crowd's getting more and more behind him, Swan started getting more aggressive and heelish, and I just thought that was like you don't see that a lot in the crowd. Like they usually stick to their script and make sure they get their stuff in rather than read the crowd and go with the flow, which is we need to see more of that in wrestling. Because that's how you paint a great picture. Is like being able to call it in the ring and adjust with what the crowd's going with.
Yeah, there's an art to being able to adapt to what you're working with on the fly, or to even stick to the script but still make the tweaks and stuff in order to go with what the crowd is doing.
And if you can do all of that, you can get a job anywhere.
Right. So, um, but yeah, it was, both these guys can go, and they proved it here. And, like you said, it's a good match. I didn't have to watch it too closely because I kind of just knew what I was in for. Um, but, it was also like, okay, we're having this match. This is our main event. We're going off the air with this. No angles, no run-ins, no just, give Kushida his moment. This is his debut. We're not doing any bullshit. Just go off the air with him victorious. So I thought that was a fine choice. It's not the only choice, but it's certainly a fine choice.
Yep.
And yeah.
And I hope that he is sticking around for a bit. Otherwise, it does feel kind of, or they use this as a loss as a kind of a character pivot for Swan. They kind of been teasing, kind of going that way a little bit. Otherwise, I feel like it's kind of a waste of a win. I mean, hopefully they keep him around and they do something with him, with Kushida, and do more with him, like him and Shelley and stuff with him, and like maybe he might end up being kind of the rift between him and between Shelley and Sabin.
He might be. And he'll be around because even though he's back with New Japan, he lives in Los Angeles because he's going to be working with the New Japan branch over in the LA dojo. So he's going to continue living in the United States. So he'll be able to make any of these shows here and, continue to be as much or as little of a part of things as he wants or as they want. So yeah, we could be seeing more of him, which not necessarily a bad thing. So yeah, that's kind of it's kind of the show. I mean, not another show, not a post pay-per-view show, but not a go home show for anything. The Emergence show isn't for that won't be till after it'll be 2 more episodes of Impact, I think, before. No?
I think so.
Yeah, because isn't that the 12th or something?
Let's take a look.
But yeah, in any case, this is just a floating.
August 12th. So we have 2 more impacts.
Right, and my goodness, so we have to have 1 more show that's not a go home show, and well, anyway. We have come to the end of this show, and it is now time to tell everybody where they could find us, even though they're looking at us right now. They appear to have found us. But if we escape, let's tell us where they can find us again. You first.
You can find me at all the places at Miss Tia the Transarchist, as well as Twitch, and also every Monday right here on the Impact Attack.
All right, and you can find me every week besides the Impact Attack, of course, here on channelattitude.com. You can also find me on the Next Level Wrestling Review for channelattitude.com, where Big Ray and I will talk about NXT and other things. And this week I will be collecting apologies, so don't you dare miss it. There may be timeouts if people don't apologize to me. So check that out. Of course, I pop in here, there, everywhere, all over Channel Attitude. I'm basically carrying a Channel Attitude flag at all times because I could be on any or all of the shows in a given week. If there was a Smack Attack show this past week, and I had been on it, I would have completed, what's bigger than a Grand Slam? There's one more. It's like a Grand Slam plus one because I would have been on the Next Level Wrestling Review, the Impact Attack, the Smack Attack, Light the Fuse, and Rampage Uncaged. So, but there was no Smack Attack, and I wasn't on it, and I wasn't planning to be on it even if there was. So I only got 4. So that's a Grand Slam. That's a HMG Grand Slam. I've hit a few of those now. So as long as you keep your eyes peeled on Channel Attitude, you just may see me somewhere that you don't expect to, for better or worse. I'll try to make it better, but the shows might be, the shows we watch may be worse. But
or in basketball they call it hitting the cycle.
Hitting the cycle. Yeah. Other than that, you can find me just hanging out playing Nintendo, which is on twitch.tv/opinionhaver. And I'm not really playing Nintendo. I'm playing Sony PlayStation. But that was the line from basketball, so I went with that. And let's see. And I do some stuff with the PWC. I've been doing some stuff lately with Jimmy T. We've done the Wednesday night skirmish the past 2 weeks. Like I said, we did the Rampage Uncaged for Channel Attitude with Jargo and stuff. But Jargo hopped on as a guest spot on one of the on the past what's it called, skirmish. So that was nice. It's always a fun time when Jargo and I get together. We always have a lovely party. So yeah, if you guys aren't following the PWC on any of the social media stuff, go and check them out because there's a lot of crossover and their stuff is on HMG Channel Attitude too. So at least follow some of those guys or their channels or whatever and get updates because you never know when a wild vet may appear. I think that's everything. The main thing is channelattitude.com. Be sure to check out everything there with the stuff that Hami Media Group is doing. And of course, the Vince Russo brand is super heavy and there's lots of crossover there because you get the Monday Night Raw reviews and the SmackDown reviews with Ben and Stevie there, and Vince doesn't watch SmackDown, but he'll watch Raw, so the three of them get together and have a little fun time there. There's all kinds of content on there. So for the low price of a combined less than $10 a month, do you realize how many hours that adds up to? Like, it's more hours than you can listen to. A reasonable person couldn't listen to all this content each month. Like, not a reasonable person. An unreasonable person probably certainly could. But the only unreasonable people that exist would be the people that weren't willing to shell out the $9.98 to get all this per month. So please support us. The free stuff is great, but it's a little bit. If you could put the coffee down just one time per month, you can afford an entire 30 days and countless hours of content. My God, look, you got this 2-hour Impact Attack. Imagine the person that sacrificed their coffee for this 2-hour Impact Attack. They're going to get 3 more Impact Attacks just on Impact Attack, let alone everything else. Man.
So much to choose from. Like, even if, stuff you don't want to listen to, there's so much there.
The value is just ridiculous. I'm actually offended if you guys don't sign up. But anyway, I'll forgive you. Javi is asking, am I playing Multiverses Vet? He definitely must not be following me because even though he follows me on Twitch, he must not be watching because yes, I've been playing Multiverses. Multiverses is it's a game and I play it. So yes, twitch.tv/opinionhaver for any Multiverses. That's it. We need to get out of here. It's time. We've done enough. You've had a long day. My day's just beginning. So until we see you next week, everybody take care and thank you so much. Goodbye.
Take care, y'all. Whoop whoop.